welcome back. Yes, today we're going to be doing my World Cup predictions. It is just around the corner. Premier League football stopped a couple of days ago, so I think it's only right. So let's see how I think the group stages will turn out. So we're going to start off with Group A, which has Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal and the Netherlands. We're going to start from who I think will finish bottom of the group and work our way up to who I think will win the group. Unfortunately for the hosts, I've put them in last place. Now, Qatar have never qualified for a World Cup, and this is the first World Cup they are taking place, and due to the fact they are hosting it. But they have slowly been developing their footballing talent throughout the past couple of years through their Aspire Academy. Qatar did win their first Asian Championship in 2019, which is the first time in the entire competition's history that they've done that. And it's their first time they've ever reached the top 3 of that competition too. Their squad definitely has some talent, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they'll be able to get out of this group because of the teams that are in it, really. It's very tough for them. They are the host nation though, which could give them a big lift playing on home turf, probably with the most fans of any nation in this tournament. I still don't think their team is good enough to take them out of the group. I do feel that if this World Cup was not hosted in Qatar, they would not have made it into the group stages, but you never know. They did win the Asian Championships after all. But yeah, I don't see them getting out of this group. 4th place. And then we move on to Senegal in 3rd. Now this is a tough one for Senegal because they are a good team, they've got good players, but it's looking like they will be without Mane, who is arguably their star man. And this is going to affect them massively as he's probably their best player. I mean, he tore up for Liverpool and now he's tearing up for Bayern Munich, but he did get an injury. Even if he's with the squad, he's still going to be injured, so we don't know how much of the group game he'll be able to play, if any. So it's going to be a big loss for Senegal. They still do have some good players though, with the likes of Edouard Mendy, Koulibaly, Ismail Assar, and Forest's own Koyate. It's still a doable group for Senegal, don't get me wrong. I mean, they've still got the good players that I've mentioned. But with such a massive player like Mane missing, it's definitely going to be a lot harder than it would have been. And with some fitness worries around some of their big players, it's not looking good for Senegal, really. They did well in AFCON, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure they'll be able to do well in this group. I mean, there's every chance they could. I mean, it's the World Cup after all, but I can't see them doing that well, to be honest. And then for group runner-up, I've got Ecuador. Now, I think the best quality about Ecuador is their defence. And they've put on some amazing defensive displays as of recent. I was looking at the games they've played, and you know, they've done pretty well defensively, no matter the result. Their squad is quite young, which may give them a disadvantage, as many of them might not have had experience in such a big tournament before. However, they do have a handful of experienced players still going with them, which will be able to help these players maybe deal with this world stage a bit better. Enner Valencia has had a great club career this season so far, and he scored 13 for Fenerbahce. But he doesn't always turn up for Ecuador, which is a big question for them, as he's arguably their best goal scorer at the moment. If he turns up, I think Ecuador will exit this group into the next round, but if he doesn't, then there's a good chance they'll get grouped here and Senegal could overtake them. This runner-up spot is really up for grabs in my opinion between Senegal and Ecuador, but we never know. And finally, Group A winners, I've got Netherlands. I do think the Netherlands are favourite for this group, and for good reason. They are a very good footballing side, and I can see them winning it as they are one of the best teams in Europe at the moment. The Dutch have a wealth of talent at their disposal, playing throughout many of the big leagues in Europe, and they've just got such a good, wide squad that I think they're going to win this group with ease. They have a really good defence as well. It's going to be tough to beat the Netherlands in this group, I think. I can't see them having many issues in this group, as I've said. They should easily qualify for the round of 16 at the top. Like I've said with Ecuador, their star player might not turn up. Senegal without Mane and Qatar, I don't think they're to the calibre of this teams at the moment. However, I could be very mistaken and Qatar could win the group, but I really don't see that happening. I think Netherlands have got this in the bag. And now we move on to Group B, which is the group I'm most excited about because of my boys. We've got England, Iran, USA and Wales. I think the US are going to finish bottom of this group. The US team is quite odd, and I'm not sure what certain US players have to do to get into this group. Yes, they've got some good players, but I think the problem really lies in their head coach or the manager. He's made some very odd choices of players to call up, which, quite frankly, I don't understand. The US do have a lot of talent popping up recently. They've really started developing their football players, which is good to see for a nation which should be doing better than they are at football, I feel. But I do think the manager is really what's holding this team back. I don't think this is the year for them in the World Cup. Next year, or next World Cup when they host it, definitely. This year, I don't think they're going to qualify for the round of 16 personally. There is a lot of potential in this side, don't get me wrong, but they'll be lacking some experience, which could turn out to be valuable, because you need experience in tournaments like this. And then I've gone Iran. Now, I think a lot of people have written off Iran, and I think a lot of people feel that they're going to fill the bottom of the group, and To be honest, I did as well, but having an actual deep, long thought about it, I think they might get third. I think they can grab a couple wins here. Iran is a good side, was great talent throughout. Mediterranean is looking brilliant for Porto this season, and I have no doubt he's going to do well for Iran here as well. I don't think that'll be enough for them to get out of this tough group. I mean, it's a tough group for anyone involved, really. Even England, who are favourites for this group, are probably going to struggle because that's the way we do things. They have a good tactical manager in Carlos Queiroz. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, I probably did. And I think he possesses a squad that will be able to make it difficult for other teams in this group. They're not going to get steamrolled, I don't think. I think they'll make it difficult for anyone they play. But I think other teams have a bit more quality than they do, which will count in the groups. But I don't think they'll bottom it either. Now this could be a shock, but I've put them Wales as the runner-up of this group. There very well could be some bias showing, as I really want to see Wales do well, and they're kind of my second team in a way. I think they'll climb out of this group with no problems. Wales have a good squad going into this tournament with the likes of Bale, Johnson, Williams, Hennessy, Moore and James, urged among some of the talent they have. And while Bale hasn't been performing at his best at LAFC, this will be his final World Cup, and he's definitely going to put all on the line to make sure that Wales do well. I don't think they'll win it. I mean, they could, and that'd be amazing, but I don't think Wales have it in them to win this World Cup. However, I do think they'll sneak through the group. I can see it being a battle between Wales and Iran who gets the runner-up position, and I think Wales will do that. Yeah, they've got a good side, play good football. Yeah, it's going to be good to see. It's going to be good to watch. And of course, the winner of Group B, my beloved England. You know, if you watch my video, I do not completely agree with Southgate's squad. But I do think we still have the best team in the group. And despite an awful Nations League campaign, I still see us doing well in this tournament. And I've always said we're going to turn up in Qatar. Because it is the tournament, we're going to turn up. Nations League doesn't really matter in my opinion. Yes, I know it's a trophy, but it's just a glorified friendly at the end of the day. However, we are suffering from injuries, missing out on the likes of James and Chilwell, who would have been integral to this squad. James especially would have been an amazing player for us to have, but unfortunately he got injured. And Walker is still not fully fit either, but I do agree with him being taken because he is also a very good player. I think we'll top this group, but we are England. We're kind of like the Spurs of the national team game, I feel. I really don't want to see us getting grouped, and I have full faith we won't, but there's a tiny little bit of me that says we're going to get grouped here. I support England. I back us. We've got a great team. We'll win in the group. In fact, we'll win in the whole thing. And now we move on to Group C, which has Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico and Poland. Now this is a very interesting group, as while Argentina are the favourites, these other three teams really can battle it out to see who will get through. In fourth place, I have Saudi Arabia. Now the Saudis have been getting better at football in recent years. They topped their qualification group against some really tough opponents, so fair play to them. While their attack isn't the best, it's their defence which will be the biggest asset for them, which is stronger than it was in their last World Cup. They do have some good players who can provide some technicality that they could use to nick a goal or a couple points here and there, but unfortunately for the Saudis, I don't think they'll do well in this group. I just think that Mexico, Poland and Argentina have better squads. This might be the year for Saudi Arabia. I see them getting grouped here, but they're in a tough group, so it's not really the end of the world for them. And in third place, I've got Mexico. Now, Mexico normally qualify for the round of 16, and they've done that in the past, had however many tournaments there have been. Currently, they've been struggling. In the qualification campaign, they only won matches by small margins, taking them really down to the wire, especially against teams they should have dominated as well. That's not to say the squad is bad. It isn't. The head coach, Tata Martino, is the problem. He's not popular with fans, they don't like him, and they don't play great attacking football under him. I think he's going to be the downfall of this Mexican squad, and until he gets replaced, I can't see them doing well in this World Cup. He's not going to get replaced before the World Cup, that's just absurd. After this World Cup, they sack him, get a new manager in, start developing some of Mexico's young talent, they could be on to a winner. As I said, developing young talent, Mexico have not picked many of their young prospects, which have been doing well in world football, so it's strange really. This squad is aging as well. As I said, he's not picking new young talent, he's sort of sticking with an older squad. I think it's a combination of the manager and the age of the squad is going to let them down here. And then for runners-up, I've got Poland. Now this is a Poland side currently going through a rebuild. Despite this, they still have quality throughout. I don't think anyone would argue that. They obviously have Lewandowski, who was the Polish player that jumps out at anyone, I think, who has struck 18 times this season. But he's not scored in some games where he really should have. But he's not the only player Poland have, with the likes of Zielinski and Cash also playing well. Matty Cash especially has been doing well in the Premier League since he joined Aston Villa. As I said, it's a bit of a rebuild year for Poland, but they have a good squad and they have every chance to escape the group. And you know what? With Mexico's woes, I think they can do it. I don't think they'll top because they've got Argentina in this group. I think they'll escape nonetheless. And obviously, Group C's winner is Argentina. This is Messi's last dance, his last opportunity to win a World Cup. Will he finally be able to claim it? Who knows? Argentina are by far the favourites in this group, and I can see them winning it with ease. Their side has gone undefeated for so long at the moment, and while that run will come to an end in this tournament, I still see them cleaning up the group. Probably going unbeaten, to be fair. They have a phenomenal World Cup squad, not to mention the GOAT. I really can't see them having much trouble here. They have so many good players at the moment, it's crazy. They're one of the strongest international squads, I think, at this tournament. And yeah, they're going to do well, they're going to go far, because there's a lot of quality within this side, and they're probably going to go into the quarters or even the semis, really. Let's be realistic here. And then we go on to Group D, which is France, Australia, Denmark and Tunisia. This is an interesting group, as this is a very similar group to the previous World Cup with Tunisia. I do think this group is quite easy to call because of, well, France and Denmark both in this group. But France are the reigning champions. Will the World Cup curse strike them again? Let's find out what I've said. So in fourth place, I've got Australia. Now, they had a shaky qualification campaign despite being UAE and Peru to get to the World Cup. I think everyone thought Peru were going to win, but Australia saw them off on penalties. Fair enough. I did want them to win, to be fair. And while their squad has some talent, it's not the greatest. I think they're struggling in this group for sure, especially with the likes of France and Denmark in the group, two brilliant footballing nations. Australia's football hasn't really been that well developed as of recent. I'm not sure what that problem is. I'm not Australian, I don't follow Australian football, but I think their squad could do with some developing before they even challenge for a World Cup, to be honest. They don't have a good attacking force, but are very decent defensively, and that might be able to help them salvage a few points here and there. But they're one of the weakest squads in this entire tournament, in my opinion, and I can't see them getting far in this group. They were counted out in the qualification playoffs, and they did it. So they counted out here. Who knows, they could be a real dark horse. And in third place, we've got Tunisia. Now, Tunisia have qualified for the World Cup 6 times, but have never made it out of the group stages. And we'll be looking to change that in this tournament. This will not be an easy group for them though, as they are facing some brilliant footballing nations, as I've already mentioned. They have a good defence, and if we want to turn around their fortunes as of recent, they won this year's Kirin Cup for the first time, beating the likes of Japan and Chile. They've done well in AFCON too, despite not winning it recently, but their squad is really developing. They've got some good players, some good talent, and I think they'll be able to, maybe grab a little win here and there. Well, I can't really see them qualifying for the round of 16, and I think they'll just exit the group in third place. But it's better than being bottom. And then runners up, I've got France. I think France will break the World Cup curse. I mean, they were the ones that started it, to be fair, as much as I wouldn't want them to. This is by no means the best French team, with injuries really affecting this squad, but despite that, they still have a very good side, and I wouldn't count them out just with injuries. I'm not sure they'll top the group, but I think it'll be a close one between them and who I've put in top, who I'm pretty sure you could guess just by looking at the group. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a close one. Benzema and Mbappe will be a very scary strike partnership to face, but they are missing Kante and Pogba in the middle of the park, which is going to be a huge loss for France. This might be part of the World Cup curse, taking out some of their important players, I guess. But I don't think France will win the group, because I think Denmark will. This Danish side has come a long way under their manager, whose name I will not pronounce, but it's here anyway. They beat France twice in the Nations League, and I would back them to do it again here. They also did well in the Europes, despite losing Eriksen, which would not have been easy on the squad. But he's back for this tournament. He's looking good, he's looking sharp. Their attack is where they will struggle, I feel, as they don't really have an out-and-out goal scorer, but they have players like Damsgaard who will be able to bag them some goals. Schmeichel is the worry for this Danish side after he joined Nice in the summer from Leicester, as he's not done well in France. But like Pickford, who wasn't doing well at Everton when he got curled up, he could still turn it around for this country. A lot of players come into a different level of form when they're playing for their national team, and I think we could see that happen with Schmeichel here. I do think Denmark have the best chances of beating France and topping this group, and you know what? I'd love to see it. If France got grouped somehow as well, that would just solidify England's chances of winning the World Cup. Let's hope that World Cup curse does a number on France. And then we move on to Group E, which is Spain, Costa Rica, Germany and Japan. Now, this is a very good group, got some very good talents in there, with Japan, Spain and Germany all being very good sides. Don't really know much about Costa Rica, to be honest, but they still have some good players within their squad. But unfortunately for them, I think they'll finish bottom of the group. Costa Rica have caused an upset before and shouldn't be counted out, even if I have counted them out here. And players who played a role in that upset will also be playing here. Keylor Navas, despite not playing much for PSG, is one of the best keepers in the world. I mean, he's playing second fiddle to Donnarumma, which just explains it, really. He's the star man for this Costa Rica side and will be instrumental in their performance this campaign. If he can make some big saves to keep out some of these teams, they could very much, sneak through the group. They play quite long football, which might be able to frustrate the other teams in this group, as they might not be able to deal with that too well. But it's a very tough group for Costa Rica, and I can't see them escaping. Sorry, Costa Rican fans, but I just think the Germany and Spain and Japan will cause you too many problems, despite the football you play. And then in third place, I've got Japan. This is one of the best Japanese squads we've seen. Despite not calling up some brilliant players, they still have a very good squad. I wouldn't be surprised to see Japan qualify, as they have some really good players called up, as I've mentioned. I do think the Celtic duo of Kyogo and Hatate were very unfortunate not to receive a call-up if they've been playing great football for Celtic. And I just love Kyogo. He's just a lovable guy. They play some good football under head coach Moriyasu, and I think that might help them in this group. If they can catch one of the other two sides off guard, they might be able to qualify, as their football is very quick and aggressive. They'll cause this group problems, I think. They're a very unpredictable side. Just look at their recent game against the US. It was lucky for the US to concede only 2. But again, it's a tough group for Japan. I'd love to see them qualify, as I think they're a very good football team. I like their players. I like their kit. So hopefully they can do well. Unfortunately, I can't see them getting out of the group. And then as runners-up, I've got Spain. Now, Spain are a tricky one this tournament, as they have a new wave of youngsters coming through the ranks, and some of these players are actually insane. Pedri is the big one that stands out, only 19 years of age. He's probably their best player. He's a brilliant player. He's been playing brilliant club football for Barcelona, and I'm sure he's going to turn up for the World Cup as well. They play some brilliant football, and I don't see that stopping here. They're a joy to watch, but their only problem is the end product, which they are severely lacking. That could cost them here. I can see the race for this spot coming down to the wire, with Japan and Costa Rica putting up a good challenge, but I think Spain will ultimately grab this runners-up spot. However, they could go all the way and win the group. It's a very contentious group, this, because Germany, great team, Spain, great team, Japan, good team, Costa Rica, good team as well. You know, it could very much turn out very differently from how I've predicted, but I do think Spain will qualify at least. Whether that's runner-up or winner, who knows. And then finally, for winners of the group, I've got Germany. Now, Germany play very aggressive football under the manager Hansi Flick, and will be looking to dominate possession while being very dangerous on the counter. That's how they play. They play very well. We've seen it many times. There are teams that know how to counter them, teams that can play against them, and that's really about whether this group can do that. They have a lot of class throughout their squad with so many good players in so many different positions. There's no point in naming them because there are so many of them. But they were missing Werner, who is brilliant for Germany, brilliant attacker, but will it affect them too much? I don't think so. They have a side full of quality, and despite a disappointing Nations League campaign, they'll no doubt turn up in this World Cup. I've said before, I'll say it again, I don't think the Nations League is a good judge of many of these national teams' performances, as a lot of good teams have not had a good campaign, but they're definitely going to turn up in the World Cup because it's the World Cup. Yeah, I think Germany will win this group pretty easily, I want to say, but I do know that these teams will be able to cause them some problems, so it's going to be an interesting group to watch for sure. And now we move on to Group F, which has Belgium, Canada, Morocco and Croatia. This is a very good group. I'm very interested to see how this will do as well. Some very good teams in here, and some teams that are on the rise as of recent, so I'm going to be very interested to see how this finishes. But I think Morocco will bottom the group. The Moroccan squad has improved since World Cup 2018, with the squad arguably in their prime at the moment. In Africa, they like to play possession, and they focus on that, but I think it'll be very different in the World Cup with the opponents they're going to face. So they're going to have to mix up their tactics a bit, which I think they will do. They have a solid defensive lineup with players like Hakimi, Aguerd and Mazraoui, all being class players who can put in a great defensive shift. They're going to do well for Morocco here. Maybe save their blushes a bit with some of the opponents they're going to face. Hakim Ziyech is a star man, and despite not playing much for Chelsea or Morocco, he'll be able to create for this side. He'll be probably the best creative outlet for them, I feel. He's not had much game time with Morocco because of their previous manager, and he hasn't played much for Chelsea this season, but he's still a very good player. It's very good that they've called him up for their fortunes. I don't think they'll be able to go that far though, unfortunately. I think Ziyech, if he gels with the Moroccan side, he'll be good. If he's a bit off, it's going to cost them. And then third place, I've got Canada. Canadians are on the up. Their football team has gotten a lot better recently, and I think they even topped their qualification campaign, if I'm not mistaken, and they probably have the best chance of causing an upset in this group. They're the highest scoring national team in 2021, and despite playing in CONCACAF, that is a very crazy stat to hear. They have a lot of class throughout the team, with the likes of Davies, David, Larin, Buchanan and Luria all receiving a call-up. They're a very energetic side who'll be very fun to watch throughout this tournament. As I said, they are probably the best candidates at causing an upset in this group and qualifying for the round of 16. You know what? I'd love to see it. I think Canada are a very dark horse in this tournament. Definitely want to keep an eye on because they've got some class. They do have some class. And then for runners-up, I've got Belgium. Belgium are probably the best team that have never won a World Cup. Maybe they're a more accurate representation of the Spursiest national team. They have a lot of quality within their side, especially with the likes of KDB in the squad. He's definitely their best player and one of the best players at the tournament. He's just insane. But we can't ignore that they've really wasted their golden generation and not won a tournament with them, which is very surprising, with many players from that generation dropping off and not being the players they once were. Obviously, that comes with age, but still, players like Hazard, Courtois and Lukaku are not performing well this season. Lukaku is still recovering from an injury as well, so may not see much game time. He's their top scorer and would have bagged goals for them in this tournament should he have been fit, but also he's not had a great time at Inter Milan and he had that disastrous time at Chelsea as well, so maybe he wouldn't have actually scored that many goals. Their defence is also worrisome, as it's getting old. They haven't really mixed it up in recent time. It could be make or break for this Belgium side, and honestly, if anyone's going to upset them, it will be Canada. Because Belgium, they're on the decline, I think. Their golden generation is come and gone. Well, obviously a lot of those players are still playing for this squad, but they're getting older. So I don't know if Belgium will actually qualify. I've said they will here, and part of me thinks they will, but a part of me also thinks they're going to get upset by Canada. So it'll be very interesting to see. And of course, winners of this group, Croatia. Now, Croatia had a good Nations League campaign, with them topping their group, and have revitalised what many were writing off as an old side. They brought some new talent, and with a mix of those older players who have the experience in these tournaments, I think they have a very solid side. They did well in the last World Cup, unfortunately for me. However, they didn't do too well in the Euros. Great for me. This group is quite up in the air, I feel. I don't think anything is really settled, but I do think Croatia will qualify for the round of 16, probably as winners of the group. They caused the upset to England in the last World Cup. But despite my biases against Croatia, they're not a bad national team. They've got some really good players, and with this combination of youth and experience, I think they're going to do well in this tournament. They're very likely to win this group. As I said, it's quite up in the air at the moment with who will actually finish where, but I think Croatia have the best chance of topping the group. And now we move on to Group G, which has the likes of Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland and Cameroon. I'm getting some real flashbacks here. A very interesting group as well, because as I said, we've seen this in the past World Cup, but will it turn out the same as it did in the last World Cup? Who knows? It's very up for debate. A lot of good teams in here, a lot of teams I'd like to see do well, and unfortunately they all can't do well because it's a group. But at the bottom of the group, I've got Cameroon. Cameroon have not performed well despite qualifying for the World Cup. They lost to Uzbekistan, who aren't in the World Cup. However, they do have Choupo-Moting in their squad, who's been lying about Bayern Munich this season. I didn't expect to do so well, but look at him. He's bagging the goals. Their attack could be very dangerous against these other sides, but it's their defence is what I'm worried about. I'm not sure it's good enough, because this group has some very good players in there. I'm probably one of the best teams in the tournament as well. It's an L for Cameroon, to be honest. And then in third place, I've got Switzerland. Now, the Swiss have a lot of quality in their side, and honestly seem really slept on, despite me saying they'll get grouped, but historically they've not performed well in the World Cup. They came third in the Nations League group, just 2 points behind group winner Spain, and reached the quarterfinals of the Euros last year, 2020. Their side is full of talents such as Fabian Schär, Akanji and Xhaka, just to name a few. They also have Freuler, who is currently at Nottingham Forest. What a boy. Very good midfielder as well, to be honest. He plays some good football. As I said, their squad is full of potential. They could finally break the streak and qualify and escape the group. It's really these last three teams that are really fighting for qualification to the round of 16, as I think the top spot is pretty much decided already. Will Switzerland actually manage to escape the group? I don't think so, because I think Serbia will be runners-up. Serbia, under their manager Dragan Stokovic, it's on screen. Serbia have won 13 of his 20 games in charge, and play a very pass-based style of football. It's not actually that bad to watch, to be honest. It's not like beautiful, free-flowing football, but it looks really nice. Their attack is very good this year, but boasting both Vlahovic and Mitrovic, two very good performers, performing quite well this season. Mitrovic especially broke the championship scoring record last season with 43 goals and has scored 10 in 12 this season in the Premier League, whereas Vlahovic not doing as good as he was at Fiorentina, but still a very good player. Still easy to see why Juventus signed him, and he's probably going to do well in this tournament, to be fair. Those two are not the only quality within this Serbian side, but I think they're the most anticipated players because they're attackers. Everyone loves an attacker. I think they're gonna have some good moments in this World Cup campaign. I think they're gonna qualify just ahead of Switzerland, mostly down to their attack. I think they're just gonna outscore both Switzerland and Cameroon here, but you know, I could be very wrong. And then for winners, I've got Brazil. I think Brazil are clear favourites in this group, and are probably favourites to go all the way as well. Brazil have a crazy side and possibly the best in the entire tournament. If I was to hedge my bets, I would say they are the best. Their attack itself is just lethal. Definitely one of the best attacks in this tournament, with the likes of Jesus, Rafinha, Martinelli, Vinicius Jr., Richarlison and Neymar. This side is absolutely stacked. I think Neymar is going to have a brilliant tournament, but he's a very good player. I think he's going to do well this tournament. And yeah, they're just a very aggressive side who love to suffocate teams when out of possession. They're a bit weaker in their defence. Their attack is going to make up for that more than enough because it's just crazy. I think the biggest problem is who does he start in attack, to be honest. I did say the defence is a bit lacking, but it's still world class. Like, they are a very solid side. They're expected to do well this year, and I think they will. But will the expectation be too much for them? I don't think so. I think they'll be able to handle it, but a lot of people are saying, hey, it could be their downfall. But I mean, just look at the side. It is insane. I don't think they're going to disappoint anyone, to be honest. Apart from people who hate Brazil, of course. And the final group, Group H, contains Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea. Or Korea Republic, as they're known here. Yeah, this is a very interesting group, as it's got a very interesting sides within it. I mean, Ghana and Uruguay have some history from 2010. That's going to be a very interesting match to watch. Definitely look out for that one. And yeah, South Korea on the up. Portugal are sort of on the decline, in my opinion. Ghana have really brought in some players, some dual nationals. And Uruguay, very interesting as well. I think Ghana will bottom the group. Ghana and Uruguay in the same group are going to lead to an amazing clash. I'm really anticipating watching that one because of that 2010 controversy. But the Ghanaian squad is full of quality with the likes of Salisu, Lamptey, Partey and Williams within their ranks. It's also one of Inaki Williams' first times playing in this squad, who's been playing really well this season. I think their problem is being cohesive, as they have a really good squad on paper, some really good players, but with so many new players in the squad who have not played together much, the important thing is for them to gel. Should they do it quickly, I think they'll be alright in this group, but I don't think they will. I think we'll get some... It's going to be a really rushed gelling experience, and I think that really takes time, which they don't have. So yeah, I'm not sure Ghana will do well purely down to having so many new players, but if they do, fair play, they've got a good squad. They have the potential to do well. It's just whether they'll gel or not, I think, that really sets their chances. And then in third place, I've got Portugal. This could be a shock. I think Portugal are on the decline, really. They have a very good squad, don't get me wrong. However, I'm not going to list them among a side that I think will do well in this tournament. Big man Ronaldo is out of form currently. He started up some drama with Manchester United as well, which I'm sure is not going to help him in this tournament. But hey, maybe it clears his mind for the tournament. Who knows? I don't think he'll turn up though. I don't think his form is going to increase for Portugal because he's not been playing well for Man United, and I think he's a player that needs to be playing well to really turn up. Luckily though for them, they have a side full of quality. Their problem is the coach, Fernando Santos. He's been in charge since 2014, and despite winning the Euros, his tactics have not really changed since then. And I think that severely neuters this side's attacking output, because they have some great attacking players, but he just doesn't really seem to utilise them in a way that they should be utilised. I also don't think Ronaldo should start because of his form, but I just see him starting every match, and I think that'll be to Portugal's detriment, to be honest. I don't see them escaping the group. I think their head coach is the main issue here. I'm not sure, because I think their attack is really going to be neutered by their manager. But we never know, he could really turn it around and play some fresh new tactics, but can we really see that happening? And then in second place as runners-up, I've got Uruguay. They're a real mystery team this tournament, as you shouldn't write them off, but at the same time they don't really jump out as a strong side, despite the quality they possess. Bentancur has really shown his quality for Spurs in the Premier League, and Valverde is just an amazing player for Real Madrid. I think he's Uruguay's best player. Maybe not their star man, but definitely their best player. Let's not forget Suarez, who I think is their star man despite his age, but also they've got Nunez in attack as well. These are both good players who offer something different, not to mention Edison Cavani as well. All very good attacking players, but can they pull it together for the World Cup? They have a very solid side with attack and defence. I mean, their defence is probably the weaker of the two in my opinion, as it's kind of aged a bit. Still, either way, very solid, and I think they're a team full of surprises who are going to surprise some people at this World Cup. I do think they'll get into the round of 16. That's probably where they'll get knocked out, but they have the quality to get through this group, I feel. And I think the most shocking call of all is the winner, South Korea. South Korea are a very interesting side as they play a style of football that can be a handful for the opposition, and I think it's going to run these teams ragged in the group. They also boast the best Asian player currently, Son Heung-min, who'll be wearing a mask for this tournament, and I think Son Heung-min in a mask is just going to hit different. I think he's going to have a brilliant tournament. As I said, one of the best Asian players, one of the best finishers in the Premier League. What a player, man. They also have Napoli's Kim Min-jae in defence, who's been tearing up for Napoli this season. I think he won Serie A Player of the Season in September, despite only being there for like 2 months at that time. He's had a great start to life in Serie A, very good defender, and he's going to shore up Korea's defence throughout this tournament. Their squad is very exciting, and they definitely want the teams to watch, in my opinion. I don't think people are bigging them up as much as they should be. I think people think Portugal are going to win this group. I don't think so. I think South Korea are going to be very, very exciting to watch, and they're going to cause a big upset in this group. Even players I've not mentioned are still very good, but yeah, they're gonna play well for sure. So yeah, those would be my World Cup group stage predictions. I hopefully get it all right, smash it out the park. I think it'll be a very interesting tournament if I did. I do want to go into who I think will play in the finals. I'm going to do a round of 16 predictions when that is all sorted out, but I'm going to say right here, right now, England winning the World Cup, and we're going to beat Brazil in the final. So yeah, those would be my World Cup predictions. I'd like to hear yours down below. Do you think I'm insane? Probably. Hope you have enjoyed my World Cup predictions. And yeah, I shall see you guys in my next video. Peace.